Welcome to the Building Design Primetime Podcast, focused on providing valuable information for anyone looking to undertake a new build or extension project. We'll share our tips, tricks and stories from a building designer's perspective.
Welcome to the Building Design Primetime Podcast. I'm your host, Amelia, and once again, we're joined by Frank Geskis.
Hey, Amelia.
Oh, happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
And we've got some special guests here today.
We do.
Yeah, welcome Carrie, back again from Uploans.
Great to be back.
And Eliza as well.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Your first podcast, Eliza.
First podcast, we'll see how we go.
Very exciting.
We won't put too much pressure on her, okay?
No pressure at all. It's just a little chat, that's all. Little chat. So if you remember from episodes 66 and 67, we actually had Carrie and Kirsty come in and have a chat to us about what a broker does. But we thought this time we would have a little bit of a different chat. We've discussed modular homes before, and there's some new systems in place now with certain banks where financing can be done a little bit differently. Is that right?
Yes, it seems to be a space that is evolving. When I first started broking about 12 years ago, banks just didn't want to touch it. It was something that was incredibly difficult to fund, and there was a lot of pushback in this space. And there are a few banks that have gradually got their minds around this. And also there's just such a demand for it now. People are looking for affordable ways to build homes, and this is a space that seems to be growing. So it started off that banks such as My State and Commonwealth Bank started to get a little bit more flexible. And Commonwealth Bank has actually come out recently with a brand new policy around this, basically saying they're open for business and ready to go.
Which is an interesting shift because it's such a different, for one thing, it's a different way to construct. So you bring the whole building to site, foundations, plumbing's already in place, put on top, connect everything, power, good to go, power, water, happy days. And I can see the problem for the bank.
Yes.
Because you've got stages.
It's a lot of risk.
Because all that money's tied up in some shed that will get transported from A to B, then lifted on a crane.
Correct.
Hopefully they don't drop it. No, they're pretty good. These guys are slick operators.
Have you ever heard of one being dropped, though?
No.
Great.
I've only ever heard of them damaged during transport.
Right.
And usually not their fault.
Okay.
Mind you, they're pretty big, some of these.
Yeah.
So, look, accidents happen, and that could happen with any builder, like the trusses, turning up and they get cleaned up travelling. So, yeah.
So typically one way around this has been that some banks will allow you to cash out up to 80% of the value of your land. So if you don't have a debt against that land, then there has been instances in the past where we've been able to cash out for the purpose of one of these homes, but they won't essentially lend against it. There's also been ways to fund these homes before if someone has an existing property that has a lot of equity, and then we're able to cash out
which makes a lot of sense.
So if you've got a $350,000 modular home and you've got a house that's worth $800,000 that has minimal debt against it, we've been able to cash out against that established property as an example and fund it that way. But now we've got lenders such as CBA saying that they will fund up to 60% of the value of that property once it's on the land, but provide those funds while it's still off-site.
That's the really interesting part, providing the funds off-site.
The only thing you've got there, though, is they're still wanting a fixed price building contract. So they've been working on the mainland, of course, with some bigger builders, working out ways to make this work so that they can still have a fixed price building contract in place. So they've got some security around what will be the end result, but that they will fund it right up to 60% of the value as complete prior to it being taken to site.
They must have some guarantees, though, from the builder or the company fabricating this too, because obviously they've got to have all the insurances in place, which of course any good business would. But it's also what's the financial position of that building business as well? Because they might have, there might be 30, 40 that are all working on at the same time.
Correct.
And their credit is stretched and all the rest of it. And this is no different to any other builder, which I always believe you should ask for financials to see if they're viable.
The thing that I'm finding interesting, and I haven't actually got as much information as I'd like to have on this so far, is Commonwealth is actually working with some bigger companies so that they can have some approved builders that they will actually fund up to 80% of the value of the property prior to it being attached to the site. I mean, plumbed in and on site as complete, if they are a certain builder. So there's still some things happening in that space as well. So 60% in general, still needing a fixed price building contract, builder's insurance, etc. Up to 80% with these sort of approved builders that they're working with. But that's still a work in progress from what I understand.
How does that work with the builders? So say for 60%, then they've got to transport it, which in most cases there may be a certain allowance allowed in the total cost of the build before it gets to site. If it goes a little further, someone's got to pay for the extra cost. The works on site, which I believe would be easily funded because it's on site, it's attached, and all the services that come in. How do the manufacturers and the builders who make these, they're only going to get 60%, and there must be a guarantee in place when it goes on site fixed, then they get their final 40%?
So the way that they're doing it is still working off a 5-stage fixed price building contract.
Can't get past that, can they?
No, they cannot. And the only way really around that is the cashing out against vacant land, depending on, but again, only up to 80%, or cashing out against existing equity, in which case then you've got the cash to pay directly. Even in this way, and please Eliza, step in and correct me if I'm incorrect, they'll pay up to 60%. Once it is on site, they will then treat it exactly as a standard build contract. So they will pay the builders in stages right up to the end.
Okay.
So there will be some cash flow for them once it gets
basically
there.
they don't have that. They've got to take a bit of a hit till it gets on site.
Correct. But the issue has been, in my experience, I know of quite a few builders doing modular homes, off-site relocatable homes that have gone under because most people have been unable to get access to any funds beyond their initial 5% deposit, say, or any funds that they're contributing until that build is complete.
Yeah, and then their cash flow's cactus.
They're gone.
Yeah, it can't work, can it?
Nope. It's just too much for them to carry and then wait for those funds.
Yeah. It's wonderful to hear that they're looking at it quite differently, but I still can't get over they still want to do this 5-step process.
I know.
Which is, well, it is what it is.
I think it's really important to watch this space too, because typically you see a larger lender like Commonwealth Bank adjust a policy and then you start to see other banks follow. And it typically will be that it's not too far away. So I think we're very likely, and I will keep you updated, to see further changes in this space purely for the fact that there is such a demand. And if the banks don't step into this space, they're going to be missing a lot of business, because the amount of inquiries we get at Uploans at the moment for first home buyers wanting to purchase land and do a modular home, relocatable home, something simple and affordable for them ongoing, it's unbelievable. It's every single week.
Because it's attractive. I've had a look at this myself, from granny flats and all sorts of stuff like that. There's some really good companies out there doing some great products, and it's not bonkers expensive as long as it meets all the compliance issues. I think we did one from one company just recently for a client. And what I found is, like, we still do what we have to do. That's easy. But it's the logistics from the finance, but then the money has to be spent on site. But the clients still have to be aware that there's still a lot of cash to outlay before you even get on site. Modular doesn't actually reduce that massively.
But I think that's something that's overlooked by many people that don't do their research with any build.
Well, that's true, yeah.
But
we've come across that too, yeah.
Yes.
And I'll be straight up, because you could be spending anywhere between $12,000 to $20,000 to get your permits, depending on the size, type, complexity, and depending how many reports you have to get. And people will call that red tape, but Look, some of it isn't. It's just basic common sense. And some people choose to buy a really shitty piece of land. And we've had to deal with lots of those, and they're super expensive to deal with. And we talk about choosing the right piece of land before you buy it. Everyone does it with emotion. And this is no different when we look at buying a house or getting plans or extensions. It's a lot of emotion, and you don't know the whole cost all the way through. And this is where you've got to engage, work with the builder very closely, and they take you through steps of how much it's going to cost, or you get a quantity surveyor to do it for you.
Yes, I agree.
It's come up just recently with a client, and we have it in our systems. We use a quantity surveyor. You want costings. You've got to follow this process, and so many people don't do it.
But Eliza, haven't you been seeing some changes with what banks will accept now in needing a contingency? So it used to be, when I first started broking, that you had a fixed price building contract, and that's what the banks funded against. And in many instances now, because fixed price building contracts are adding in clauses to give them some flexibility on being able to change due to fluctuation of materials. And so now banks aren't happy to see just that you've got enough funds for the build, particularly for the more higher end builds. They're ensuring that the clients have further funds and access to funds to be able to cover a contingency. Are you seeing a bit of that?
Yeah, so at the moment what we're seeing really is most builds over $1 million, it's nearly impossible to do it from a bank's funding perspective without a quantity surveyor and a 5% contingency for overruns on the build.
Yeah, which hasn't really been in our space.
Which is interesting, because we always tell customers, allow 10%, don't matter what build you've got, give you 10% up the sleeve. So if they tell us, hey, we've got about $450,000 budget, we'll pare it back, $45,000, that's our target. Some don't agree with us.
But not many people do that, and I think that's incredible, and kudos to you. It's a great business practice, because I can tell you now there aren't many people doing that out there, and it's hurting a lot of people.
I think even like a lot of people we find, they'll go and sit down with a builder and go, oh great, this is how much we're going to be spending, we'll get them pre-approved, and then they'll realise that their kitchen is very, very basic. They've got plain melamine cupboards. They want to upgrade that. They want stone bench tops. But when you're not fully experienced in building, you don't really take a lot of notice of the spec of everything.
Well, and because it's all in words.
That's right.
We deal with one building company, and they show a picture of every item of your selections in their contract. And it's very good.
Yeah. The amount of times, though, that we've got people pre-approved for a build based on they've gone and done their research, they've found a builder, they've found a plan that they're happy with, they have a budget, and they say to us, absolutely, without a doubt, we don't need to get pre-approved for any more than $450. Okay, excellent. All comes together. We make sure they've got some surplus put aside just for overruns in case there are any issues when it comes to, rock found on the block, things like that. So many things can happen. We get them pre-approved, and they come back to us 3 months later, and their build contract is $550. And it's unbelievable the amount of times that happens. And then we're the ones that have to say, you haven't got the serviceability for that, or hang on a minute, that's going to take our build up over 90%. And most lenders won't go over 90% at the moment. There's only 2 that we work with in Australia that will go over 90% for a build.
Because everything's so tight now. Because we actually had a podcast just recently talking about budgets.
We did,
and we based it on one email from a customer.
We did.
Interesting.
And it was, my budget is not your business.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not very helpful.
I think I need to listen to that podcast, because that might actually be something really helpful to send to our clients when they're talking about it, because people don't understand if you haven't done it before, and we give them as much information as we can, but essentially we're finance brokers, so being able to give resources to clients that are thinking about building is really helpful to us.
Well, yeah, in this case, we're not experts on the budgets either, because we're not involved in their selections. We're not in unless they want us to, that's fine. But what we were talking about this is, if we don't know what we don't know, we can't advise, but also we have a process to be able to work that out with the quantity surveyor of our choice, who's really, really good. And it takes time to do that, or we work with the builder. We love working with builders, and they do budget costings on the way through. Are we on track? Are we not? And we want to do this before we even go for planning approval. Get rough figures. And we were talking about, we're not trying to be busybodies. We're not trying to, here's an award winner, maybe, I could do something. That's a load of crap. It's not how we work.
Yeah.
I get no joy and I don't think any of the team in here has any joy of documenting something for someone and their budget goes over because they haven't told us and it doesn't get built.
Yep.
What's the fun in that?
I know, and it happens so often.
I'm afraid it does. And
Yes.
we've just had one recently, but the builder actually led him astray on some costings and he didn't actually do proper costings on it. So we're helping him out doing some tweaks to, drop a few bucks on this project for them. But that is a big side of it. And maybe we've got to develop a step-by-step process for people that they can use. Because I've just had another client recently and we went round there, consulted with him, want to do this. I reckon I get about $250,000 for the extension. No worries. He actually went to the bank or broker, I'm not sure, and he says, no, I can only get 180.
Right.
Right. We're going to work on 180.
Okay.
And bit of contingency, pull it back a little bit, and then, look, we're going to keep this really simple.
Okay. It's
So-
good to know that you can do that because the thing that we're finding too is valuations on renovations are coming in really low.
Why is that?
I don't know. And I think the problem is, let's just say you've got a house and it might be worth $500,000.
Yep.
Fixed price building contract for a renovation. If they don't have enough equity just to pull the cash out, might be say $250,000. Therefore, you're thinking that the end value would be $750,000. It's coming in at $650,000. So it's constant with renovations.
You know what's interesting though? In all my years in building design, that hasn't changed a lot. Because I tell people, don't expect to flip or do anything. You're going to be minimum 5 years before you get your value back in it, subject to your cycle. In the
property cycle,
property cycle. It says you've got to be here for 5 to 7 years minimum to get your return on it.
But people think that by doing a significant renovation, it's going to add a lot more value onto the home than say what the build costs. In the current, most of my clients assume you do $250,000 worth of renovations, it's going to add $350,000 worth of value, and instead they're absolutely gutted when they get the valuation back and it's $100,000 less than what it's costing them to do it.
That's exactly right. And I actually think right now that gap is worse than it was like literally 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's really tough. This particular client we're working with, the location is perfect for their family. It is so good. Get rid of a car type stuff. So they're now reevaluating everything. So whether we can do this, but we might have to pare it back to make sure it sticks within under that 180. And then the builder's got to work really closely with us because 180 is really, really tight.
Really tight.
But that's a whole new living room and a bedroom. And it changes the whole house and then the whole family life. But it's whether they can get that done for that kind of money.
And then you're looking at borrowing capacity as well as equity.
Yes.
Is it going to value up? Are we still staying under that 80% mark as complete? And can serviceability be shown as well, which is such an issue in our current environment?
Yeah. Okay, random question. How long do you reckon that it's going to take for the change for the actual build cost to buy cost difference to close up? Did you bring a crystal ball with you?
No, I'd love a crystal ball. Could you tell me that? The amount of people that come to us that ask that question is incredible. So I think the answer is I don't know.
No, and that's fine.
It's hard because people will say to me at the moment, and I think with first home buyers, the answer has kind of been made for them because if they're buying an established property, they're getting no stamp duty at the moment. As a first home buyer, you can purchase up to $750,000 and not pay any stamp duty, which is a saving of over $33,000 if you go at the top end and over $20,000 if you're going, towards that bottom end. But if you're to build a brand new property at the moment, it's just a $10,000 grant. Whether that will flip when it's legislated the new $30,000 grant.
I did see that advertised.
Yeah, so it's been promised. It was an election promised. It just hasn't gone through what's it called?
It's legislated. It's not through royal assent.
There we go. It's legislated. It hasn't been through royal assent, so it's on its way. So we do understand and have been told that it will be backdated.
Oh, interesting.
All build contracts from the 1st of July 2025 is what we've been told.
Wow.
But kind of watch this space on that as well.
But what's interesting, that 30 grand compared to when that COVID sugar hit that they did, which ended up with the Fed one was about 45,000.
45
it was, yeah.
Because my son
Home
was
builder
my son and
grant.
his wife were that, and that was a really good sugar hit considering the build was 320,000.
It was me to a T.
Yeah.
20, 45 grand, second home.
Yeah, there you go.
Eliza was one of the first to jump on it. In fact, she was our guinea pig.
Oh,
so it was fantastic.
crash test dummy.
Yeah, it was awesome because what happened is these, and a little bit off track here, but these grants were brought in so quickly without any consultation with banks.
It was bonkers.
So
That was crazy.
you couldn't actually use part of the grant as funds to complete. So there was a federal grant and a state grant, and the state grant you could use as funds to complete, but the federal grant you couldn't use as funds to complete because the bank wouldn't recognise it because of when and at what part of the build it was made. And so as brokers, we went in and we're using those as funds to complete. And then all of a sudden, the banks are declining applications. We've got clients racing to parents, grandparents, everyone they can to temporarily get those extra funds until they were then paid to them. It was a crazy time. But it will be interesting to see what the $30,000 first homeowner grant does for builds, because I can say we have slowed down significantly so in the last 2 years in the amount of construction loans we do. During that COVID time, it was astronomical how many we were doing, and we have absolutely seen a pickup in, what would you say, Eliza, the last 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, probably the last 3 months. I think it's gone up at least 50% from what we were doing the 12 months prior.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big change. Do you think it's because of the rate drops?
Yes, I think building is again becoming more affordable because of these rates easing back. It was out of reach for a lot of people that couldn't afford to build.
The numbers didn't stack.
They couldn't do it. Like the amount of people that were coming to us that had the equity to build, but the inability due to borrowing capacity was huge. But also, yeah, as they've eased back, but also some confidence has come back in the building industry because the media grabbed hold of it, right? So, this company was going under and this company was going under and this, and then we had a few in Tassie going under. And so I think there was a real fear around building on top of the inaffordability. And what we are seeing from our clients is a little bit more confidence coming back. They're being a lot more careful about their builder selection.
As they should.
Yeah, and a lot more across building contracts. So quite often in the past, clients would just sign building contracts without reading them. It just is what it is. But people seem to be taking a little bit more time, asking you a few more questions. But we are definitely seeing confidence come back in building.
But they should be. They should be getting professional advice on
Correct.
any of those contracts.
Correct.
So, yeah, we've certainly noticed it, especially in Hobart where it went off a cliff come October last year.
Yeah.
It just dropped. And then Launceston just stayed pretty consistent, then kind of dipped off a bit
Yeah, we saw a
during
dip.
March, April, and then really August went off. And Hobart, it went off as well.
We had a
August.
period, I think, where we were doing a lot of renovation extensions.
Yep, still are. Quite a few. Very few new first home builders.
I was going to ask you about that because I think we will see first home buyers come back into that market as soon as that $30,000.
It'll be interesting because
Yeah.
I think you get that sugar hit, but is it going to be enough?
Correct. Borrowing capacity is still going to be an
Yeah,
issue
exactly
for
right.
first home
And
buyers.
the serviceability of that loan, and they're all going to be reliant on two incomes.
Yes, you are correct because a lot of people don't understand that. Single borrowers at the moment, it's almost impossible for them to purchase a home on their own in the current environment. It's really disheartening.
I've got two friends of mine, they're two kids, and one of them just recently purchased a 2-bedroom unit. Now, a 2-bedroom unit now is not exactly a cheap purchase, but she's been working hard, saving a dough,
Yeah.
and she's done that by herself.
Yep. It's really deflating for them, but it's also pushing people to purchase with partners sooner than they would usually.
Yes, which
I
then
think-
leads to further risk.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also seeing more siblings purchase together, which again leads to further risk if, one meets a partner and someone else gets involved and things like that. So we're seeing a lot of different scenarios that weren't really around were more few and far between when I first started broking.
Yes, I agree, because that's a really question. that makes it really, really tough with them.
But when you sit down with someone and they're on $70,000 a year and their borrowing capacity is $250,000, they can't do it.
No.
As soon as you add a second salary in there,
They can.
It just, your capacity goes up by, not quite 50%, but quite a lot more.
Yeah, but then you've got to start looking at it differently. Is it going to be a residence or is it going to be a investment property?
Yeah.
Because if you do it as an investment property and you still rent, and if you can make the numbers stack, it may actually be a better way of doing it.
Yeah.
But everyone wants to own their own castle, and I 100%
And also,
agree with that.
the first home buyer benefits, I think, are quite good at the moment in terms of no stamp duty. There's just been changes that are coming into play as of the 1st of October for the first home guarantee scheme. The income caps have been taken away. The price caps on purchasing established dwellings is being extended. So in Launceston, for example, in regional Tasmania, it was $450. That's going up to $550.
Even then, that's a bit...
Doesn't get you much.
Doesn't get you much, does it?
Hey, get some dungers out of that.
I know.
If you're looking at a proper house...
I know. But $450 was almost impossible for people to purchase.
What were they thinking?
I don't know.
Honestly.
But on the flip side to this is something else we discussed in a previous podcast, is I'm noticing where people do not want to renovate, as in do up a house.
Agree.
On themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas my era, where we had cardboard boxes, bedside tables, and we didn't have a lot, and we renovated, we painted, we made up, we learnt how to do stuff, made mistakes and all that. But then you get to love your house a lot more because you've put all this...
Blood, sweat and tears into it.
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
There is a different expectation of what a first home looks like in this current environment. I absolutely agree. Absolutely.
Because I just think you could do yourself a lot of favours by doing that. And it's painful. You're living in squalor sometimes or without a kitchen for 3 months and you're saving up for this stuff. But tell you what, it makes it more worthwhile. Saving hard.
What were the changes on the scheme around building a home, Eliza?
So you could always build on it, but for us in Lonnie, obviously $450 for land and build, kind of impossible. Can you buy a block of land and build for $450 in Launceston? Probably not.
No.
Combined?
No.
So don't know what you could put on
I've looked
there.
at a few house and land packages just around the place, and I don't think I've seen anything under 500,000.
No, I think maybe...
Unless it's a strata unit,
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
maybe.
But then that being the case, you would buy them as complete because it's very, very hard to sell off a strata block without the house being built, from what I found.
No, it is. That is
Yeah.
very true. It has to have very special circumstances.
Yeah.
In which case, clients would then only get the $10,000 grant. They're buying as complete and it's brand new $10,000 grant, isn't it?
That's
at
right,
the
but you
moment?
can't buy a vacant strata lot and then build on it.
No.
Or it is rare. It can be done and not all councils accept it.
Yeah, I've seen a few kind of in my time in the industry, but the plans for the build have to be done. They've got to be on the strata title. It's already got to be done.
And it's got to be exact and you can't change the colours, the
No.
windows, anything.
Really?
Yep.
No, I don't have a lot of experience around that. It's really
Yeah,
interesting.
we've done, I think we've done 4 or 5 of them.
I think
Wow.
I've seen 3 in my 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah, but it can be done and it could be attractive to some people because the strata land's going to be a heck of a lot cheaper than us subdivided.
Absolutely, it is, yeah.
So what are some misconceptions people have about financing modular homes or prefabricated homes? Is it still classed as a construction loan or?
So unless we're doing what I mentioned earlier in cashing out against existing property or cashing out against vacant land, in which case you can fund it yourself, pay the builder directly, or you could still have a fixed price building contract and do the drawdowns yourself. Yes, it is still seen as a construction loan. The other way that we've seen them done is that clients have found funds elsewhere, say from family, waited until the home is on the land and as complete, and then the bank doesn't then differentiate between an established home that was built in stages on site or an established home that was built off site and relocated. They won't at all. So what would happen is once that's complete, we can then, subject to serviceability and also end valuation, cash out up to 80% against that property so that they could then pay parents back or family back. I saw a lot more of that when these sort of modular homes were less expensive many years ago, but they seem to have gone up in price because they've gone up in quality as well. You know, some of them that I saw years ago were were sheds, but there's some really good quality ones around now.
About to touch on that because it can only be of the minimum standard under the National Construction Code. I don't know how some of the previous ones
I'm not sure either.
got their permits or whatever. We've spoken about this with a couple of our other podcasts where don't buy a prefabricated home from another site. Just don't do it. As soon as you move it to a new site, it has to comply with the current code. And we're not going to touch it with a barge pole because it's near impossible. You're going to tear the thing apart to be able to get it to comply. It's not much different of converting a shed into a house, what we call a shouse.
A shouse.
You know, because that is hard. It is really hard. An existing one, and it's usually around the frame and the footings and the waterproofing of the slab. It is really, really difficult. People think it's easy. They see sheds and they think they're already converted, but no, they were planned that way.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we've come up across in Tassie in particular, and we do lending all over Australia, but Tasmanians seem to do this more than anyone else, I swear, is they just go in and put a bathroom and a kitchen in and get the plumbing done and do all of these things that aren't council approved, don't have permits, and then they put the property on the market and they sell it, and all of a sudden a valuer walks in and says, nah, this is not approved, and then the contract falls over. Or the valuer will walk in and only allow land value only and not attribute any value to this unapproved dwelling because they can't. And then the banks won't fund it.
That's if they know.
Will not fund it.
That's if they know.
If they know.
Because also people that don't have to have a valuer come in, they don't do the proper searches, and there is a specific way it's got to be done, and they're buying a dud.
Yeah. We've seen that happen a couple of times.
Awful.
Yeah.
Absolutely awful and dodgy and shonky. People think it's worth something and it's not worth anything at all.
Yeah.
And it's really, really sad, and we've dealt with a few of these in here.
Right.
And it's brutal.
Yeah. And typically, would you find you'd have to rip it down and start all over again, or can they make changes to then comply?
It's hard.
Right.
We've had to do some, but also there's ones, look, we can't help you.
Yeah, we've had situations like that as well.
And it's so wrong on so many levels. It makes me really mad. And this is where I believe open disclosure laws and keeping it really simple, not like what Queensland have just done, that is insanely difficult.
Yeah.
So it's just keeping it really simple, because the information you provide, you are liable. It should be as simple as that. But there's easy ways to be able to check that, because we do checks for ourselves when we're doing construction. We can go into the council, obtain all previous permits, drawings, plumbing, building, everything. We go to site, have a look and go, hello.
That's not on there.
Yep. Or a classic example, a guy rang me from Hobart. Oh, look, I've got this problem with something on the back of my house, and they've extended only 600 mil to increase the size of the ensuite. Anyway, I was doing my search on it and checking stuff. It says, mate, your deck isn't on in here too, and your shed's a problem. Why is that? You've built over a sewer main.
Oh, no.
It's like 30 years old.
Oh, no.
Never had a permit.
Right.
But he didn't know that. But I found it while I was doing my searches. And I'm going, yeah.
I think it's a lot more common than anyone realises. And
I've spoken to some insurance companies and they said Tasmania's the worst.
Yeah. And we see it pop up in Tasmania way more than we do in any of our interstate transactions. And we do write a lot of interstate loans now. COVID opened that up.
Yes.
You know, so we can write all over Australia, and we do. But Tasmania seems to be
We're special.
the one where it keeps popping. You've got your backyard builders going in there and having a crack, but it causes all sorts of trouble.
Well, I suppose it's just doing your thing. And the classic thing is turning a shed into a man cave, which then turns into a spare bedroom, a rumpus, and then turns into a granny flat.
Yes,
Yeah,
it develops over
And it's
time.
built on a boundary, needs a firewall.
Yes.
You know, it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
Well, we just had one. Oh, there's an example of a concrete block garage turned into an Airbnb.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Insurance would be a thing there too, though, because if it's
not.
built as a dwelling, it's not insured. If it's built as a
as a
shed and then
garage,
acting
yeah.
as a dwelling, it's not insured. Yeah, that would be, my lord. It's
Yeah.
just a whole can of worms,
And
isn't
this is what worries me. And like whatever you do, you go with new stuff. If you're doing a transportable building, you don't get it from some guy. Make sure they've got a license.
it? Yep.
Make sure they've got all this. It's had all the inspections, all this type of stuff. They're a legitimate company. And there's a lot of good modular building companies out there. Do your research and make sure they're fair dinkum.
And so that we know what to tell our clients and listeners as well, What sort of things would you look for, Frank, in someone that's doing modular homes?
First, do they have a building licence?
Okay.
First and foremost, because as soon as they've got a building licence, they should have a level of insurance.
Yep.
Because that has to be proven as part of your licence. Second part is when they are selling you, I want a 2-bedroom transportable building. Okay, you want to look at the drawings.
Yeah.
Is it done by a licensed person? Is the engineering done by a licensed engineer? And have the thermal assessments been done? Because they would have done a lot of work on establishing their base designs. They should be able to produce that and produce you a list of your designer, your engineer, your thermal, all that type of stuff. Who's the plumber that signed off on that modular building?
Interesting.
Because it all has to be done inside the factory. And the inspections should have been done, specifically on the frame.
Yeah, I think that's not happening in a lot of cases.
Okay.
The big
So
ones
this
are
is
good.
good to know.
The big ones are good.
Yeah. Yep.
Because the builder should be able to produce, all this is done,
Excellent.
and this should be signed off. But they might be building you a custom one. They should be able to provide you or tell you this is what we're going to do. Because the building surveyors insist on it as well.
Yeah. I think probably while we're thinking about kind of misconceptions as well, a lot of people will think you can do it with a 5 or 10% deposit, which you can in the bank size, but then you end up with the problem that the builder has to carry the build until it's on site a lot of the time. Obviously, with the new CBA changes, it makes a bit of a difference, but it's very, very hard to convince a builder to carry the build right the way all the way through from the deposit from the customer until it's on site if they've only got a 5 to 10% deposit to do it.
It can't be.
Yeah, we get that a
I
lot.
don't see how they could possibly do it, considering they run 30-day accounts.
Yeah.
And then you've got all that material sitting there. So say if it's a $180,000 build, there'd have to be at least 100 to 120 grand worth of material in there.
Yeah. And that's kind of where we find the most that aren't able to go ahead because it's the conception that it's cheap and you don't need much of a deposit, but then they can't afford to actually carry it.
No, because that's where the funder comes in to be able to do that. There's a big gap there, isn't there?
There's still a really big gap.
And finding a solution for that gap. Look, I believe going forward, there'll be modular home companies that can carry that.
Yes.
Because they'll build the cash equity in their business. They can sell more if they can do the 5% deposit. They get CBA to do their part. They're just holding it onto their money a lot longer. And then they may even have one prefabbed, ready to go, exactly what you want, off you go, off to site.
Yeah, and I think we will see those companies come into play more and more. And I think this is where CBA are doing their research with companies that are able to have that lower risk, just in case.
Could it be a bit like how the new car yards, car yards work with their new cars where they've got holding stock because there's an element of loans of holding that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Could it be something like that going forward?
Be interesting to see because we've never seen more inquiry in this space ever.
And I don't think it's great. The challenge is putting modular homes on, and we'll talk about this, is about how do they value up compared to normal homes?
Yes.
Because sometimes they can look like a dog's breakfast.
Yes.
Because they just look like trailer park,
Yeah.
if not done right.
Yes.
Yet, if they're done well, and it's no different with a house, you can make a shed, turn to a house, still looks like a shed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yet, if you put the effort in, it doesn't look like as much as a shed, So I think those things need to be considered too, because from a valuation and a resale point of view, how have you guys seen that?
They don't value up as well as an actual build.
Yes.
They don't. And I think the reality is they don't tend to sell as high a price as an actual build. So it makes sense that the valuers are coming in lower. We've had instances where valuers have refused to add them into the value and they've just come back with a land value when something's not been done well. So
When it's been poorly done. Which I understand because they go...
Let's just say your land value's $350,000. It's a nice big land size, and someone's put a transportable home on there, and it's a slap job, and it might have tank water, and it's just it has electricity, but it's slap bang. I've had valuers turn around and say that could literally just be put back on a truck and taken off elsewhere. I'm not going to allocate any value to that, regardless of the fact that it is a home that is lived in. I'm not going to, and so the land value might be $350, and the improvements value is nothing.
And the problem is what you're probably describing is what we call a humpy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Because there was no way it could be an approved build.
Yes.
I remember a family was in a really bad spot. They went and bought one, put it on their property, and it was out Mole Creek way, and they really needed this for the space. Anyway, the best we could do was call it a shed.
Okay.
That's what we could do. So we ended up calling it a studio, still had a sink in there, had a bathroom in there, but we just wrote on there, non-habitable, got it passed.
Yep.
So they couldn't live in it, but there was already a house already on site. That's the best we could do, because they bought this from, I think it was off Gumtree.
There's a lot of them on Gumtree.
Don't buy off Gumtree.
No, we've also
Don't.
repeated that many times out loud. Facebook and Gumtree, you'll see a lot of them. Yeah.
Don't do it.
No, do not.
It's just bad. Buy a caravan.
Yeah.
No, seriously, caravan you can legitimately put on site because it's got a registration, it's licensed to go on the road. You can put it on your site.
Yeah.
And you don't need a permit other than a plumbing permit.
Interesting.
There's different ways to do it. There's a trick to it, though, because I actually did it for the government once.
Okay.
Did a whole series of them all over Tasmania.
But just so your listeners are aware, if there's a caravan and there's plumbing, it's still not an improvement on that land.
It's actually a detriment. Well, sadly, that's what it is.
It is though, yeah.
You know, you can't, it's not worth anything, which then makes it hard to insure too.
Yeah, anything on wheels doesn't really add value, does it?
No, and nor should you expect it to.
No.
It's more of a convenience.
Yeah.
You know, and this is where they talk about the tiny home revolution. That's fine if you want to do that. And I think it's great if it's a temporary thing, save a heap of coin, got your independence. But I think it's going to be a different type of insurance, different type of living. And if you want to do that for a period of time until you build something more permanent, I think it's a good idea.
Yep.
And to be
Just
fair,
getting
I
started.
think it's a good solution where people are really desperate to find housing. A caravan or a tiny home or something like that on wheels is a good solution.
And we've had clients that have purchased land, used a tiny home for a period of time, saved, paid down the land, built their equity, and then in 3-4 years' time built. And it's been a great solution for them, especially if it's just a single person or a couple with no children. It has been a stepping stone for them, and it's worked because they haven't been paying rent while they've been
On their
building.
property.
Yeah, so it's been a solution. So it does work sometimes,
It's a long-term plan.
but those tiny homes that my clients have had have never been council approved.
No,
It just means something they live in
But as long
temporarily.
as it's, but if
and
it's
then they
registered
have-
and you've got correct plumbing set up, it is possible.
Yeah, right. Excellent.
In certain circumstances, you've got to do your research with each council, but they may only give you 1 year to 2 year permits.
Yep.
In some cases, the ones I did were an extension to an existing house, whether they needed extra room for the teenager, and we were able to do that with these caravans.
Could you do that for my 10-year-old who's a bit of a misbehaviour?
So what you're saying is, get you a caravan that's had it, light inside, no one can hear them scream.
I do love her very much, just so you know.
Maybe a smash room.
Might be. There has been 3 meetings at the school in the last 3 weeks, but we'll park that for a minute.
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
That
It
is
isn't
very
it?
impressive.
Excellent, right.
Now I've got nowhere to go on.
No, right. I'm scared someone's going to write in and be like, that finance broker, we're going to be
Was that your kid?
If you see a caravan parked up in someone's backyard.
Oh, it's so funny.
Right. Where are we going with this, Amelia?
Get us back on track.
Let's get back to the topic, modular homes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any special documentation buyers need to prepare when applying for a modular home loan?
The home loan itself, not so much other than a fixed price building contract, if it is going to be funded in CBA's new way of being funded up to 60% loan to value ratio off site and then bought onto site, it would need a fixed price building contract. If it's through doing this via accessing equity elsewhere, i.e. cashing out against your vacant land or cashing out against another asset, another property, there doesn't need to be a fixed price building contract for the lender. I would strongly suggest there was some sort of contract involved though, so that you're protected.
You have some figures.
Yeah. But it's interesting because the documents that Frank mentioned earlier when I said, what should our clients be asking for, they aren't. The banks don't need to see those, which is...
Are you kidding me?
No. They
just
do
want
not.
plans.
No, they do not. And this is why I asked you, and I thought, this is great. I'm going to send this off to my any client that mentions they want to go down this path, because it isn't a lender requirement to see those things. So they'll want a builder's insurance if it's something that's a fixed price building contract that they're funding.
But it doesn't ask for their licence.
No, they want the contract works insurance, stamped plans, and
So building approved plans?
Yeah.
Well, that means they have got a licence.
Okay,
Yeah,
then we're okay.
that's good. There you go. That ticks
There
that
we
off.
go.
Yeah, it does.
None of them will fund it.
I'm just
plan.
trying
I
to
think
be just shooting people off down a path of destruction. But
I think you can still use that when they're investigating, looking at different companies. Because, like I said, there are guys on Gumtree and Facebook Marketplace that are selling or will build you one. Same thing, ask the questions.
yeah,
Do you have a licence? Does your engineer have a licence? Your thermal performance, all the rest of it. Because it's like buying a modified car without knowing what you're getting.
So what about lender's mortgage insurance? Does that still apply for modular homes? Is it still sort of the same as any other home loan contract?
what's Commonwealth's policy around it? I think that they'll only go to a max of 80%.
No, 90. I checked.
They will go to 90
I fact-checked
now.
it before I
Great.
came here.
Yes,
90%.
so that's their
Yeah.
updated policy. So
That's
excuse
pretty
me
good.
for my ignorance. Yeah, so this is brand new policy, just released.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
Because they can see what's coming. What I'm scared of is you get these modular homes, and as I said, can look trailer park-like if they're not designed right. Other thing you've got to be aware of too, when you do modular homes, because they're up in the air, you've got to have decks and landings and staircases. Make sure that's included in the build.
Yeah, that's good to note.
Yeah, you'd want to hope so.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you've got to get a little step ladder to get up to your front door.
That's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, well, you'll never get a permit, a finalised permit, because it has to be a compliance stair and landing to get to the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Off topic a little bit, but I cannot tell you the amount of times Matt has gone to one of those and had to jump in with his carpet. He's had to
Really?
jump up into them. Yep. He's like, I don't have a ladder. I work on the floor, but he can't get into the house.
Is this after the complete?
When he's doing the flooring, so like obviously scratches
Oh,
out.
yeah.
But
No,
like,
they don't care about tradies.
No, but as built, oh my God. It's insane.
That's weird. That's an OHS problem.
Like he's gone to a few and sent me a picture. He's like, you get in up there and he's like, I don't have a ladder and I'm in St Helens. Like, what am I meant to do? And I'm like, I don't know. That's your problem. That's not my problem. You figure that out.
No, I've got my own thinking of that.
Right.
Yeah, no, not very good.
I know most builders we deal with, they go out of the way, making sure it's all safe.
Yeah, and good.
You know.
Some of them, not so much.
Yeah, it seems a bit odd, doesn't it?
I guess the other note there to make is to make sure you check all of your inclusions
Correct.
in your contract.
I think it's easier with the modular ones because they're limited on inclusions
True. Yes.
compared to doing a reno or brand new build because you just go shopping
Yeah.
and that's where the budget goes.
That's when it blows for everyone, yeah. Absolutely.
It does. It is. And don't worry, I've just had that experience.
But it's also difficult because often it's not until you've decided to proceed that you find out that only one power switch is allowed per room within your budget, and you start to find all these things that, oh, well, I would need two in that room. Okay, well, that puts it up this amount, and then
There's
that
another
puts it up this
$150,
amount.
$200.
Yeah, and it all adds up. So, yeah, I think for people to try and really gauge what's included to the most detail they can.
Well, that's interesting because we do electrical plans. We give it to the client, well, where do you want power points? You write it on there. So at least when they get a price, well, that's what they're going to get.
No,
I have
we
an
don't see
electrical
that.
plan, actually. I did. It's part of the
Not
plans.
all.
Not all.
It's not a requirement.
No.
It's not a requirement to get your permit.
Yeah.
So I actually think it's a bit foolish because you need to show where everything goes and you know what you're getting for your money on the price.
Yeah,
Makes a lot of sense.
it does. But I've seen a lot of doozies, honestly, where homes have been complete and it hasn't been picked up on until that home's finished.
See, that's really interesting because a lot of quality builders I know, they actually get them to come in and check all the electrical positions before the plastering happens, all that.
Yep.
Not a lot of the bigger ones.
Really?
Yeah, the big ones don't. Your big, cheaper ones will not, from what we found.
There you go.
Yeah.
So the project type homes.
Yeah, because I know project home companies we work with, we do full electrical plans from every time.
Yeah, right.
There you go. I didn't know that.
But like you say, like when I built my house, it was like, okay, come in, we've got all the wires in, and there was spray paint on the floor.
Yeah, that's
blue
normal.
for PowerPoint, pink for switch, and it was like, are you happy with this? Are you happy with that? Yep. Put another one here. But obviously not everybody.
It's double checking it
Yeah, make sure you're happy.
because it's hard to visualise.
But then you have some builders that will not allow
Site visits.
clients in at all for site visits at all. Yeah, but that's a whole nother topic of conversation.
It is, isn't it?
Yes, it
I could
actually
go on
is.
about that one.
So could I, and I've had clients in tears, and the process of building has just been made
Horrible.
really awful for them because of that. Yes, another podcast, I feel. No.
I've had clients go in, break in, change the locks and sack the builder.
Yeah, okay.
Wow.
I could see why.
No, this was just so they didn't have to pay and then they'd go get it finished off themselves.
Oh, really?
That was El Shonko. That was a shocker.
Right. Yes, I haven't had that one.
Yeah, that was a few years. I remember that when the builder goes, "What do I do?" And you had to get legal advice and all that. But they actually broke in and then they got their own builders in to finish it
Wow.
because they claimed going into dispute.
Far out.
And
Wow.
it saved them. I think we worked out it probably saved them close to back then because it was about 10, 12 years ago. It was really dodgy. It was going to save them about 50 grand on the build.
Wow. Far out.
It was just plain nasty.
Wow. So, where can listeners reach or learn more about financing options through Uploans?
Well, you can either give us a call or you can email. The best way would be to email team at uploans.com.au, or if you go to our website, www.uploans.com.au, there actually is a submission form. You can pop an inquiry on there and then someone will get in contact with you straight away.
I've noticed too on your website you have a lot of resources available too for people that are wanting to learn more about just financing in general and different types of loans and how they work.
We try to keep up regular blogs and stay ahead because there's always changes. There's changes to loan products, there's changes to policy. There's just been a whole upgrade to the first home buyer grants throughout the country, federal and state. There's also been recent policy changes to assist in borrowing capacity around help debt. There's things that are changing all the time and it's really hard for people to get that information. So we do try to stay quite relevant in terms of updating blogs, updating information all the time so that information is relevant. In fact, Eliza, one of her jobs when she came in this morning was an email from me to completely redo the grants page because they're changing throughout the country. So yeah, it is a good resource point.
Yes, and I like your calculator on there too.
It's good, isn't it?
It's really good. Yeah, definitely.
If you're a numbers person.
If you're a numbers
but
person.
if you're not, it's okay. I'll calculate it for you.
Yeah. All right, so take-home points, I guess, from modular homes and financing for that is it's a continuously revolving door at the moment because it's changing.
It's changing constantly, and I think, as I mentioned earlier, when Commonwealth Bank tends to change policy and update, other banks follow. And so sometimes they try to outdo each other actually once a new policy is released. So I think that it will be a constantly evolving state.
Do you send them the policy?
No.
Guys, have you seen this? Yeah, you guys are pretty shit. Do you want to get this sorted?
I think I'd be banned from writing with that particular lender if that happened. But no.
Don't they like constructive criticism?
They must have insider information though, because when the recent Commonwealth Bank were the first lender to change policy around serviceability and help debt, and it was only 2 weeks after that NAB followed. So they must have some leakers in there somewhere, I reckon.
There's a mole.
Stay tuned for the next podcast.
Yeah.
Moles within banks.
Yeah, we're going to interview. What's it got to do
Anyone
with
from Commonwealth
building
is
design?
listening, it is not me. It's not us.
What a great place to wrap up.
I am not the mole, but anyway.
I got a lie detector test in somewhere. Sorry, I'm going to let you finish.
Stop, Frank. Stop. Thank you so much for coming in, Carrie and Eliza from Uploans.
Thanks for having us.
It's been great. We've been chatting for an hour.
Oh my goodness.
Can you believe it?
Where does the time go?
I apologise now.
Thanks, Frank. Anyway, thanks for listening to the Building Design Primetime Podcast.
Catch you later.
Bye.
You're listening to the Building Design Primetime Podcast.